Hello students, in this session I will be dealing with the gestational trophoblastic diseases. So gestational trophoblastic diseases, it is a group of rare diseases where the trophoblast cell grows abnormally inside the uterus after the conception. So once the woman is getting conceived, the trophoblast cells in that uterus, it will be growing. The number of cells, it will be increasing abnormally. So that disease, it is known as gestational. That group of diseases, it is known as gestational trophoblastic diseases. So the classification of gestational trophoblastic diseases is it includes hierarchiform mole or vesicular mole, invasive mole, and choriocarcinoma. So these are the main three types of gestational trophoblastic disorders: hierarchiform mole, invasive mole, or choriocarcinoma. So we will be seeing hydatidiform mole first. So hydatidiform mole, which is also known as vesicular mole, is an abnormal condition in which the chorionic villi will be getting degenerated, and also there will be hyperplastic changes in the chorionic villi. As a result of this degenerated and hyperplastic changes inside the chorionic villi, there will be a formation of cluster inside. See, this is the cluster of small cysts. So like this, a formation of cluster will be there inside the uterus. So this condition is known as hydatidiform mole. So hydatidiform mole, which is also known as vesicular mole, and this is the abnormal condition of the ovum. So what is happening? The chorionic villi will undergo degeneration and hyperplastic changes. That is, the number of cells, it will be increasing. As a result of that, there is a formation of cluster like small cyst inside the uterus. That is known as hydatidiform mole. So exact etiology, it is unknown, but this can be occurred because of the ovular defects. Okay, so if you are seeing ovum, it is covered with the downy hairs, and these downy hairs, that only will be proliferating into the chorionic villi, and whenever there is any changes in the chorionic villi, that changes, that abnormal changes will finally leads to the hydatidiform mole. So the etiology, if you are saying, it is unknown, it can be occurred because of the ovular defects. So the risk factors, it is including a teenage pregnancy. If the woman is not taking the proper nutrition, disturbed maternal immune system because of the cytogenic abnormality, or if a woman had any history of prior hydatidiform mole. So these all are the cases which are at risk. That is teenage pregnancy, faulty nutrition, disturbed maternal immune system, cytogenic abnormality, and prior hydatidiform mole. Coming to the clinical features. So the signs and symptoms. The symptoms include vaginal bleeding. The women may have pain in her abdomen, and there will be expulsion of grape-like vesicles from the vagina. So from the vagina, the cluster of cyst which was formed and which was looking like a grapefruit, that will be expelling from the vagina. Also, she will be having vomiting and breathlessness. Then the signs include the patient will be looking ill, features of pallor and features of preeclampsia will be present. Okay, so the signs and symptoms, it include vaginal bleeding, abdominal pain, expulsion of grape-like vesicles from the vagina, vomiting, breathlessness. Signs are patient is looking ill, pallor, and features of preeclampsia. Per abdomen, the size of the uterus will be more. The uterus will be feeling elastic, and there will be absence of FSH. Coming to the vaginal examination, sorry, it is not FSH, it is fetal heart sound. Vaginal examination, enlargement of ovary, the vesicles, you can able to see the vesicles in the vaginal discharge, and if the cervix is open, blood clots are felt instead of the membranes. Okay, so when the vaginal examination is done, we can able to find out the enlargement of the ovary, and in the vaginal discharge the vesicles will be expelled and we can able to see the vesicles in the vaginal discharge. And if the cervix is open, we can able to feel the blood clots inside instead of the fetal membranes. Coming to the diagnosis. See, the blood grouping has to be done, or the blood grouping should be estimated, so that if the woman requires the blood transfusion, we can do it immediately. In the ultrasonography, a snowstorm appearance will be there. So what is the snowstorm appearance? See, it is without a fetus. It is empty. Only you can able to find out the vesicles. The vesicles inside the uterus is giving you the appearance of a snowstorm. See, it is not having any shape. It will not form a fetal shape. So it is forming just, it will be spreading inside. So the vesicles, when it is spreaded inside, that is giving you the appearance of a snowstorm. Then estimation of HCG, if you are estimating the level of HCG, it will be very high in the urine. And straight abdominal X-ray, it will be showing a negative shadow. CT scan and MRI can be done for the confirmatory diagnosis. So these are the diagnostic steps or evaluations we will be doing. That is blood grouping. Sonography will reveal a snowstorm appearance. The HCG in the urine, it will be high when we will estimate the HCG. Then if the straight abdominal X-ray is taken, it will show you a negative fetal shadow. The CT scan and MRI can also be done. What is the management? So the principles behind the management is we have to restore the blood and we have to prevent the infections. Our next step is to evacuate the uterus and regular follow-up care. So these four principles has to be followed. So since the vaginal bleeding is there, if it is heavy, we have to restore the blood loss. We have to prevent the mother from the infections. We have to evacuate the uterine content, and the regular follow-up is the four principles followed behind the management. Now for the management of a patient with hydatidiform mole, we have to group the patients in two groups. Group A patients are those patients mole is in the process of expulsion. Okay. So when the mole is in the process of expulsion, when the mole has started to expel from the uterine cavity, that patients we will be grouping it under group A. Those patients whose uterus is remaining inert, that patients will be under the group B. So the management for group A and group B, it is different. So group A patients whose mole is in the process of expulsion, we have to give the supportive therapy with the ringer lactate. Then arrangement for the blood transfusion has to be done if there is a heavy blood loss. And the definitive management, it is including blood transfusion with 500 ml of RL should also be there. Blood transfusion should be done. Along with that, to maintain the fluid status, 500 ml of RL. Then 10 to 20 units of oxytocin should be administered so that the mole will start the fast process of expulsion. So for speeding up the process of expulsion, we are giving 10 to 20 units of oxytocin. Okay. Then suction evacuation has to be done. So suction evacuation, it is done under the general anesthesia. We are using a pressure of 200 to 250 mm of Hg so that the mole will be expelled outside. So that is suction evacuation. And we can remove the mole even with the help of a ovom forceps. So even that is also done under the general anesthesia, and methergine 0.2 mg IM after the evacuation has to be given so that the uterus will start to contract. Clear? So this is the therapy for the patients who are in group A. Okay. So if the patients are in group A, that is when the mole is in the process of expulsion, supportive therapy with the IVRL and arrangement for the transfusion should be done. The definitive management is we are transfusing the blood. We are giving the IVRL, that is 500 ml. And also we are using the oxytocin to speed up the process of expulsion, that is about 10 to 20 units of oxytocin. Suction evacuation under the general anesthesia with a pressure of 200 to 250 mm of Hg, we are giving the suction evacuation. Also, the mole can be removed by a ovum forceps under the general anesthesia, and after the removal, we have to use the Methergine 0.2 mg IM for the normal contraction of the uterus. If the patient is in group B, that is, if the uterus is inert, supportive therapy such as arrangement of blood transfusion should be done, and the definitive management, it is evacuation of the uterus. Okay, so the evacuation of the uterus vaginally, and that is also having two conditions, that is if the cervix is favorable, if the cervix is unfavorable. If the cervix is favorable, it means that cervix favorable means if the cervix is open, suction evacuation under oxytocin infusion in 500 ml of Brinker lactate, and the drop rate maintained is 30 drops per minute. Also, we can able to sedate the mother with the help of a diazepam, and the mother has to be monitored continuously with the pulse oximeter. If the cervix is not favoring, it means if the cervix is not dilated, we have to do the dilatation with a Hegar's dilator, that is slow dilatation of the cervix. After dilating the cervix, suction and evacuation has to be done. And also we can use the misoprostol 400 microgram 3 hours before the dilatation process. Okay, so that there will be if the cervix is not favorable, the misoprostol will be helping the cervix to get dilated. So for the dilatation, we are using the misoprostol 400 microgram 3 hours before the surgery, so that the cervix will be favorable for the procedure. Okay, so this is how the vaginal evacuation or evacuation of uterus is done. If the cervix is favorable, directly we can go for the suction evacuation, and also we can use the oxytocin infusion in 500 ml of RL to accelerate the procedure. Okay, and the drop rate maintained is 30 drops per minute. And if the cervix is not favorable, we have to give misoprostol 400 microgram 3 hours before the surgery. We can dilate the cervix with the help of the dilators, and then the suction evacuation has to be done. If the cervix is not favoring after the procedure, we can go for a hysterectomy, or the patient has to be posted for the hysterectomy. So hysterectomy is opening the uterus and then we are removing the cyst, and hysterectomy, if it has spreaded completely, in some cases there is a chance of complete spread and metastasis. So in that cases, hysterectomy has to be done, that is removal of the uterus. So that's all about hydatidiform mole. Coming to the next one, invasive mole or chorioadenoma destruens. So here it is a tropoblastic tumor. What is happening here? The chorionic villi will be penetrating inside the myometrium. Okay. So a tropoblastic tumor where the chorionic villi, it is penetrated inside the myometrium, and locally that will be malignant and it will be rarely metastasis. So metastasis, it is a rare condition in this case, but locally this is malignant. Okay, and it may lead to the perforation of the uterus. So the chorionic villi, it will be invading inside, it is penetrating inside the myometrium, and it will be leading to the perforation of the uterus. So what are the clinical features of the chorioadenoma destruens? So persistent vaginal bleeding will be there. Then the subinvolution, that is the because of the existence of the abnormal sense, it will be subinvoluted. Amenorrhea will be present, ovarian enlarge will be persisting, and no malignancy in the endometrial biopsy. Okay, why? It is only affecting the myometrium. It is penetrating the myometrium, but if you take the endometrial layer for a biopsy, it will be showing the negative malignancy because it is only localized near to the myometrium. The malignancy will be localized in the myometrial cavity. Third is the choriocarcinoma. So choriocarcinoma, it is a malignant form of gestational trophoblastic diseases which is developing as a result of hydatidiform mole. And the placental trophoblastic cells, either it can be developed with a healthy fetus or as a result of abortion or with a ectopic pregnancy. Okay. So whenever the trophoblastic cells, an abnormal cell formation is developing as a result of hydatidiform mole or as a result of placental trophoblastic cells. These cases, they are associated with either an ectopic pregnancy or with the abortion or with the healthy fetus. So the signs and symptoms, it includes bleeding, normally the infection, swelling in the abdomen, vaginal mass, because already in the definition it is told that it is occurring because of the hydatidiform mole. So the hydatidiform mole vesicles will be there as a vaginal mass. Lung symptoms and that is breathlessness and symptoms from other metastases. So when it is a carcinoma, for both the cases, chemotherapy has to be done. Okay. So if the malignancy developing, the mother has to go for the chemotherapy, or the chemotherapy is recommended if the level of serum HCG it is doubling in 2 weeks after the exclusion of a new pregnancy. So even after the pregnancy, see, if it is a ectopic pregnancy or if the abortion process has completed, so then even then also if the level of serum HCG if it is doubling in the after 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks of an abortion or the expulsion of an ectopic pregnancy, the mother should go for the chemotherapy. Okay. Then if the metastasis is appearing or if the test for the hormone is becoming positive after being negative. So it means that after the abortion or after the removal of an ectopic pregnancy, if the HCG test is becoming positive, okay, in that cases, so it is understood that there is a trophoblastic cell, abnormal cells, it is growth is there, so the women has to go for the chemotherapy. Clear? So this is all about the gestational trophoblastic diseases. So the gestational trophoblastic diseases, it consists of mainly 3 classifications, which is an rare disease caused by the abnormal growth in the trophoblastic cell, which is consisting of 3 rare diseases, that is hydatidiform mole, choriocarcinoma and carcinoma districts. So I hope you all have understood this class. Thank you, dear students.